The UK's population is growing, and most of us live and work in our cities. That means the daily commute into work is fraught with difficulties, as every day millions of us throng into crowded urban areas. Tonight we look at the trials and tribulations of city living in Police Camera Action. On tonight's Police Camera Action, boxing clever downtown. Escaping over the bonnet. And a jam sandwich.
He's crashed. Stand by.
The view from this aircraft is crucial to Traffic Link, the travel information broadcasters. Flying over London and the southeast, they can pinpoint jams, bottlenecks and gridlock. The United Kingdom has one of the worst congestion rates in Europe, and the really bad news is it's getting worse. We've all felt the frustration of heavy city traffic, and who hasn't been tempted to try this to beat the jams? Unfortunately for this metro driver, a police car behind saw it all. He was pulled over as he was trying to jump back into the correct lane. The evening rush hour can be unbearable when you just want to get home.
See what he does. Yeah, he's just going to power straight on.
Rather than wait in a queue of traffic, one driver decided to overtake on the wrong side of the road. It didn't get him very far, as he was soon pulled over by police and given a £60 ticket.
MP still southbound Leighton Road towards the A11, the Great Eastern Road.
London streets are busy throughout the day, making police pursuits particularly dangerous. The blue van below is being followed by Metropolitan Police through heavy lunchtime traffic, and he obviously has no consideration for other road users. As he skids round the corner, he's lucky not to hit another vehicle.
From 99, still in West Ham Lane, just temporarily stuck in traffic.
But it's getting even more congested and therefore more dangerous.
Still southbound West Ham Lane in fairly congested traffic.
A queue of traffic up ahead sends the driver onto the wrong side of the road, straight into the path of oncoming vehicles. And at the traffic lights, he forces other bewildered drivers who have the right of way to take evasive action. With 4 police cars in pursuit and the heavy traffic up ahead, the suspect decides on an alternative course of action.
MP, the vehicle was stopped and one suspect decamping. You've got officers following on foot. He's into Abbey Road and there's about 4 or 5 officers following the suspect. Abbey Road.
One suspect decamped. Received. All units stand by for Emily.
MP, it's Eastbourne Road. Suspect still being chased. Eastbourne Road.
He climbs into a back garden, but realises there's no escape route. The police soon have him under arrest.
Abbey Road.
It's been fairly heavy and slow for any traffic making its way in.
Temporary traffic lights on the Leylands Road, just around the B2036. Expect a few delays around there still. And
B2015 drainage work continues, and major roadworks on Pembury Road and Tunbridge Road also.
The radio is an invaluable source of traffic information, and whichever station you listen to, it's likely that the reports come from an office like this. Traffic Link have a network of offices up and down the United Kingdom. But here at the control centre, high above London city centre, the major routes in and out of the capital are constantly monitored by 450 closed-circuit TV cameras and, of course, their plane. Now, this information service may not solve the problem of congestion in our cities, but it certainly goes a long way towards helping us avoid it.
When faced with heavy congestion, it can be all too easy to succumb to rash actions. But these types of manoeuvre could carry a maximum penalty of £1,000 and 3 points on your licence. And it's not just motorists who ignore red lights. Red light jumpers are not the only dangerous motorists on the roads.
We've got a silver Astra. I can't get the name of the road at the moment. Just bear with us, please. Darlington. Right onto Corrie Street.
Police in the North Midlands are pursuing a car that's just been stolen.
Left onto the pavement. Left onto Little Over Lane. Right onto Hathersage.
Foxtrot 5, maintain your safe distance. Let the helicopter guide us on the over.
It's driving erratically, and in such a busy area, it's vital for the police to stop it before there's a serious accident.
Possibly back towards the city centre.
Passing vehicles on the inside on the pavement.
As the car approaches the city centre, the driving becomes more and more dangerous. As he goes straight through the traffic lights on the wrong side of the road, he forces oncoming traffic to brake suddenly.
He's left onto, I think it's Abbey Street.
Confirm. Abbey Street was 50
Right again. I think it's Gerrard, I'm not sure.
Yes, confirm Gerrard Street. Right 5, I'm on Gerrard.
It's a very narrow street. One's out, passengers out, 2 out, and the vehicle's still off. One prisoner, struggling with the traffic bobby.
2 of the occupants jump out of the car but are soon arrested. Meanwhile, the pursuit continues. It's lucky there were no pedestrians coming round that corner.
Vehicle still mobile.
He's left. Babington Lane.
Left into Babington Lane, 1024.
The suspect tries to outmaneuver the police, but the officers are never far behind.
He's right into a forecourt, across the pavement. Still Babington Lane, on the pavement again.
They're trained for this kind of situation, but they need to be aware of other road users as they keep up with the suspect. However, the fleeing motorist simply doesn't seem to care where he drives or who he puts in danger.
I can't give you the name.
It's Burton Road, against traffic, wrong way down Burton Road.
Once again, he tries to get away over the pavement, but now the police have blocked his escape route.
Yeah, he's crashed. Stand by.
Even when hemmed in, he still refuses to surrender and reverses at speed, almost mowing down a police officer at the back of the car. As with any pursuit, police need to get the keys from the driver fast to stop him driving off. They smash the window to gain access. He's soon restrained and arrested.
And one's out again, he's arrested.
For his offences, he got 21 months in prison and a driving ban. With around 27 million cars on our small island, it's not surprising the UK's urban areas are often congested. And it's not just a problem for the motorist. It also has a devastating effect on the environment, polluting the air above all our cities. In our capital, they've come up with a radical new scheme which they hope will solve the problem. The man behind it is London's Mayor, Ken Livingstone.
How exactly will the scheme work?
Well, in the small centre of London, between Park Lane and the city and between Euston and Elephant and Castle, if you drive in Monday to Friday between 7 in the morning and 6:30 in the evening, you have to pay £5. Once you pay the £5, you can drive in and out all day long. What we're expecting is that about somewhere between 12 and 15% of people will decide not to drive in, and that would be the same as, say, hitting a school holiday. And everybody in London says, you know, school holiday traffic just about works. If it does work, then I think it will be copied all over the world, let alone Britain. People say this is the way to start to tackle the problems of congestion in our great cities.
Being stuck in a traffic jam is frustrating for any motorist, but for some, even pausing at red lights is an inconvenience. This driver draws attention to himself by screeching away on amber, right in front of a police camera car. His failure to stay in his lane persuades the police to pull him over, as they suspected he may have been drinking.
10-12,
But not only does he fail to stop, the driving gets worse.
12.
At the next junction, he doesn't wait for the lights to change and cuts right across.
Yeah, failed to stop. You took Sword Road? Yeah. Wrong side of road on Burton Road. Speed 50, no deviation. Still wrong side of the road. Vehicles oncoming.
After that near miss, he decides to move back over.
Junction, crossing the central reservation onto our side of the road, but now behind the vehicle.
Approaching the city centre, police become more and more concerned about his reckless driving.
Junction from Victor 1, Warwick Avenue, onto Burton Road towards the city centre. Speed 50, no deviation. Vehicle all over the road, driving down the centre of the carriageway, repeatedly braking, dropped down to 2.5. Vehicle now swerving from side to side. Vehicle is brought.
It's a busy Friday night in the centre of town.
Van in front of it. Vehicle keeps braking from low speed, braking hard. What's this one?
There are lots of pedestrians trying to cross the road.
Yeah, vehicle now on the spot towards London Road.
The police can't take any chances, so it's now time for decisive action. More manpower's been called in to help bring this terrifying pursuit to an end. Police up ahead are lying in wait for the offender, ready to bring him to a stop with a stinger. It'll puncture the car tyres and force it to slow down.
Vehicle stung from Victor 1. Vehicle's been stung.
The stinger, a line of spikes spread across the road, quickly retracts out of the path of the police vehicle.
Vehicle's been stung. We've got both front tyres deflated at the moment. Vehicle's dropped down at about 20 miles an hour through the city centre.
The car comes to a standstill. The pedestrians are safe and the driver is arrested. Not only is he found to be over the limit, he's also a disqualified driver. He got 15 months in prison and was disqualified for 3 years. After the break, bus lane misdemeanors. And you can run, but you can't hide. This is Newham Borough Council's CCTV centre in East London. These screens monitor activity across the borough, and if the operator spots something suspicious, he can immediately call the police. But it's not just the police and council who cooperate here. The local bus company also have staff monitoring motorists who ignore the bus lane rules. There are over 3,000 bus lane offences here in the capital every week, many of them causing severe delays. Other motorists use the bus lane as a speedway, bypassing traffic queues, or as a personal parking bay. Such illegal behaviour can, of course, be caught on camera. The offender's licence plate is recorded, so an automatic £80 fine can be sent through the post. The bus drivers also have a hotline direct to the centre, so they can report any incidents the cameras might not have spotted. Traffic warden is then dispatched to the scene, usually arriving within minutes. Even if you don't see a traffic warden or roadside camera, hidden cameras fixed to the front of buses can still catch you out. Like this driver, who received his fine through the post. Fortunately for them, neither cyclists nor unicyclists get tickets for travelling in the bus lanes. An early morning patrol came across a car using the bus lane to beat the rush hour queues. He might have got away with just a bus lane fine, but when faced with the red light, impatience got the better of him. Jumping a red light could earn you a £1,000 fine and 3 points on your licence. And it didn't save him any time. Waiting patiently for the lights to turn green doesn't guarantee you safety when cars coming the other way try to run the red light. The Silver Rover was lucky to avoid a collision, but not so lucky to avoid being caught by the police. He's given a ticket. A disqualified driver in the North Midlands is trying to run from the police. He undertakes a queue of traffic through a red light onto a busy A road. He then crosses 6 lanes of traffic, forcing other motorists to brake suddenly, and speeds into a quiet residential area. He's desperate for an escape route and tries to take his chances down a small alleyway. But the car can't get through. He's stuck, which means there's only one option: to run. But he's soon caught and arrested.
88, there's 135 over.
For his dangerous driving whilst disqualified, he got a 9-month prison sentence.
From 88, 2 officers with him, back to the police car.
Speed bumps are designed to slow traffic down in residential areas, but it's no deterrent for this offender, who takes them at over 60 miles an hour. He obviously isn't worried about the car's suspension, but that's probably because he's more worried about being breathalyzed. After skidding round a corner, the car comes to a sudden halt. The offender's almost stopped, but shows some agility by leaping over the bonnet. He's not fast enough for the police, however, who soon catch and arrest him. He was found to be over the limit and got a 3-year driving ban and community service. Saturday afternoon, and the city centre is packed with busy shoppers and tourists. With so many people spilling out onto the road, it can be a nerve-wracking experience for any driver. The thought of hitting a pedestrian is every motorist's nightmare, but at least I have some reassurance in that this is the most pedestrian-friendly car on the market. It's the new Honda Civic, and it achieved the highest ever pedestrian protection rating of any car tested. The research that led to those design features and modifications was conducted here at the Transport Research Laboratory. Technicians measure the effect of an accident on these simulated body parts. They're fitted with sensors that can predict what the effect would be on a live pedestrian. The simulated body parts are fired at a real car by this catapult, which can produce precisely the force of any given speed. So what have Honda done with this information? Well, the front of the car is now made of plastic, and the metal struts inside have been moved further back. So in the event of an impact, the bumper would collapse, the front of the bonnet and the plastic headlamps would cave in, and the main bonnet area, most frequently struck by a child's head in an accident, would fold in. While Honda may currently lead the field in pedestrian safety, in future all new cars will have to adhere to a new European standard of pedestrian safety. Which can only be a good thing, with thoughtless drivers like this on the road.
Oh my God! Wait, stop! You pull over!
And pedestrian safety is further compromised by cars parking illegally and selfishly close to zebra crossings, obscuring the view of other road users. A minicab driver should know better than to pick up a fare here. His passenger isn't about to hang around while the driver gets nicked, so he grabs his bags and goes. Parking illegally is one way to get police attention, whether on a zebra crossing or, as in this case, under a motorway bridge. Further down the road, the officer asked the driver to step out of the car for questioning, but he sped off down the M61. Police helicopter assistance was soon on the scene. And from the air, it's clear that he can't stay in the lane. Police are baffled by his decision to cross to the other carriageway when there's nothing to overtake. With such dangerous driving, it's a good thing there isn't too much traffic around.
Now right into the meadows.
He's soon reaching speeds of over 80 miles an hour, and he appears to ignore the signs for the forthcoming roundabout, hardly dropping his speed at all. As he goes round it the wrong way, he almost collides with a red van. At the next roundabout, he once again goes perilously close to other traffic. He quickly turns off the road and heads into town. The police are becoming more and more concerned for the safety of other motorists as he continues to drive on the wrong side of the road. Another near miss means it's time for police reinforcements. Turning into another residential area, he mounts the pavement at speed, the car's taking a real hammering. Before long, there's smoke billowing from the back of the vehicle, indicating there's something seriously wrong with it. The driver realizes he has no option but to get off the road. He turns into a driveway out of sight of the police cars. What he doesn't realize is that the helicopter's thermal imaging camera can easily spot him climbing into the back seat of the car in an attempt to hide. The ground force police calmly follow the directions from the air and make another successful arrest. He was later charged with driving whilst disqualified, dangerous driving, and driving without insurance. When it comes to driving through a city, you may prefer to make one big trip rather than several smaller journeys. But this load was clearly dangerous, and the driver was prosecuted. City police are used to seeing unusual sights on the road. But some crazy driving is just plain dangerous. These pedestrians were lucky not to have been hit. Yet sometimes it's not the drivers who put the pedestrians at risk. When his car broke down on the central reservation, this man took his life in his hands. He attempted to cross 4 lanes of the M25 to reach the phone on the other side. If you break down in this situation, the best advice is to stay in your vehicle and wait for police assistance.
Coming up for the morning.